Hey guys, we were just over on our regular Zoom meeting with our business class people. Everybody in there is really creative, and we were talking about some of the problems associated with that. I know Alice and I both make stuff for our businesses, and um, anyway, just being able to sort of focus that creative energy, yet still allow yourself to do the stuff, and then making sure that you're actually making money on the stuff. It's a whole thing.
It's an adventure.
Yeah, it is. One of the things that I liked that was kind of there was this girl in our class. She makes all kinds of things, and it's just been like which thing to focus on first. And we were talking about, just following the fruit. Where's the fruit at? Where's the flow at? And that kind of thing, which I do that pretty well. And I switch gears pretty well. But one of the things that I have found that I have to do is I can't get too far out in the weeds with what I'm making. I have to pick something that I can execute on quickly that will actually be profitable for me because I don't have 2 hours into one piece. I have maybe 5 minutes into a piece. So I'm having to dumb down my designs. I'm having to not do the things that I really want to do all the time. But that's what actually makes it possible for me to crank things out every month at the stage that I'm at. So one of the things that we came up with was making sure that you have some free reign time, that you can go nuts and you can do whatever it is you want to do, whether it actually is something that you make in your business or if it's, just going outside that and saying you want to try something new. I mean, we always want to try something new. I know that's true. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Shiny object syndrome's a thing. Yeah. And I think part of the difficulty is so often we're like, oh, we can't do it. So then we don't do anything different. We don't do anything new. We tend to go to either one extreme or the other. And that's not good. If you're always doing the new thing and you're never developing something that's working, then you're not going to have a very viable business. That just isn't going to work. Whereas if you don't ever try something different, try something new, then you're possibly going to miss out on creative innovations for your business that would be, and not necessarily that the thing that you do becomes a part of your business. It can be something completely different than anything related to your business. But by having just some of that free time for your brain to just do all kinds of crazy stuff, then you might find a solution to an issue that you're having in your business, or a way that you can upgrade or do something, have an adjustment in your business that's going to be very successful. So having both is, I think, important. And I don't know that I hear other people talk about that a whole lot. So there's,
I haven't heard.
yeah. Yeah, everybody's like, oh, avoid the bright shiny object. It's like, well, to be fair, that is that is a good advice. But, yeah, so far as it goes. But for me,
to be kind of controlled.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me, I'm doing the box club once a month, which is a subscription-based thing where, in addition to the flower essences, which is my main business, they get a piece of jewelry. So every month I have to come up with something new. So there's that creative side, but I'm also putting some really hard parameters around it, as in it can't take more than 5 minutes for me to make this thing, because otherwise it's just not going to be profitable for me.
Yeah, it's not a viable.
So I am really I'm having to be on budget, and I'm having to be on a time budget. So that's been helpful for me, because otherwise the thing was just kicking my butt for the first few months that I was doing it. So I was making it too hard.
Yeah. Well, and I think as creatives, it's so easy for us to do. We like the complex and the ever evolving and, all the things. And yeah, that's fine and wonderful, except when it's not. And when you have to create a bunch of them in X amount of time, then you've got to really simplify that down and or else it's not going to be sustainable at all if you're able to do it, if you're
I
able
think
to.
everybody falls into that because when you
Mhm.
start a business, you have no business. It doesn't matter if it takes you 5 hours to create something because
Because you've
what
got the
else you
5
doing?
hours, right?
But if you are trying to scale your business up and all of a sudden you're getting 50 orders a week, that's just not viable. So you definitely want to start out with something that you can continue on with, I would think.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're going to go nuts for a little bit and then you're going to have a breakdown and then you're going to figure out, oh, I should really simplify this.
So you don't have another breakdown. Well, the other thing about having something that's simplified and easily replicatable, that's not quite the right word. Yeah, I can't say it. Is that then you can actually hire people to help you with those things. If that's like for Seneca, that's not the core of her business. But if that's the core of your business, then you can hire people to help you. And maybe they're helping you with one step in the process or all of it or whatever. But if you've got it systematized, which our creative mind does not like that word. And our creative mind doesn't like limits. Our creative mind does not like boundaries. But just like Seneca said, ironically, when we put limitations and structure on our creativity, we actually we're able to be more creative, not less. So
because then you're solving problems.
Mhm. Yeah. And you're able and it can be a very, very, very creative process and a very rewarding process creatively when you actually limit your options, like Seneca said, to a finite budget and a finite amount of time that it has to be done. So part of that with time, the task will expand to fill whatever time you give it. So you need to, there are some lower limit boundaries, but to different things. You can't do everything in 5 minutes, but
no, and there needs to be some things that you don't set time limits on too.
yeah.
That's
And I
you
think
need an exploratory phase where you can just go play.
Yeah. And I think having both Seneca and I kind of practice a Sabbath type of thing where and I know Seneca, you've experienced this more in broader things. So, but that's like my Sundays. And it depends throughout my life. Sometimes it's been Saturday, sometimes it's been Sunday. But I notice that if I do one day a week and I don't work, then I get so much more done and of better quality on the other 6 days than I ever did in the 7. And one of the things that I've implemented is taking a week off at the end of every quarter. So, and I'm working up to Seneca's 1 year every 7.
Yeah, I'm in my 7th year and it's glorious. I didn't have enough time to prepare to really take my business off. So I'm just not doing projects and I'm letting my staff do the most of the work. So I'm still there, but very limited.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm playing a lot.
Yeah. And our bodies and our brains, we need that time of just unstructured creativity, non-work time to rest. So that's the Bible talks about that God made the Sabbath for us. We weren't made for the Sabbath. It was made for us, for our benefit, our profit. So we do ourselves a disservice when we don't do that. And that, I think that's one of the reasons why is that your conscious mind disconnects from your business or from the problems that you're solving. And then it allows your more creative subconscious mind to work on it. It's still working all the time. It doesn't ever sleep. And then sometimes when you're doing something else entirely or reading a book on a whole different subject, might be, oh, well, that's the answer to this thing over here, even though there doesn't appear to be a direct link. You're like, oh, but that's how I can solve this. So it's a very beneficial,
Yeah.
a
Well,
better
and that's
way of balancing both of those things, I think.
kind of getting out of the just creativity too. It
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily have to be creativity the way we think of it, as in like writing or drawing or painting or something like that. But research for me, just to be able to go and wander onto something that isn't anything that I'm working on in business, but having the free reign to go there and learn.
Mhm. Yeah. So you can just and take notes and then come back to it later, and maybe it'll be something and maybe not, but it was a lot of fun anyway.
Yeah. It's always something. It's just a question of when and where you stick that
Yeah.
information. Where does that plug in at?
Yeah.
I have a whole wall of that kind of stuff. It's my crazy man wall.
Yeah.
Maybe there's yard to connect everything together at some point. I don't know. Right now, it's just things. Some of them are organized on clipboards, and some of them are just thumbtacked everywhere
Yeah.
in layers. And yeah,
Yeah. I have file folders full of some stuff that I'll pull out and shuffle through every now and then.
yeah, yeah. I have mine facing that way, opposite the camera.
Yeah.
One, so I can look at it, and then so nobody else can and go, "What in the world is she doing?"
Yeah. So, and for me, for some of the things, oh yeah, for me, for some of the things that I know are not for now, because I think that's also part of this too. It may be something later, but it's not a right this minute thing. Um, then it helps me to know, okay, I know where they are, but I can't see it. So I'm not going to be thinking about it. It's not going to distract me. So, whereas there are other things that I want closer in front of my face. So I do kind of catch something out of the corner of my eye when I'm not thinking about it. And then, oh, that's, that's how I could do that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think we do have to be very practical when we have a business that involves something that we make or create. Another thing we were talking about is, people just not getting it. Like they don't get your art. and and not just art, but anything, whatever it is you're trying to get across. It's
Yeah.
sometimes you might have to dumb that down for the masses,
Mm-hmm.
and then use your free time to do your full blown
Mm-hmm.
whole thing.
Yeah. And I think part of what is helpful is when you think about it in terms of not what you do, but how they can benefit from what you do, then that helps. That's one of the things that I'm learning. I mean, it's a process. I still have to remind myself. But how do I explain what I do to you so that you understand it is probably going to be how it could benefit you, or like if I work with writers, if they're not a writer, they still can understand that, for writers, they can kind of picture a writer, they have an idea of what that might look like. So if it's from their perspective, that's more helpful. And they don't need the nitty gritty. They don't care.
Yeah. But I think there's a balancing act too, like to the degree that you're able to unpack the benefit to the person. I mean, you can go further if you're able to explain more.
Yeah.
And explain it concisely and simply.
Yeah.
Was it Einstein that said if you don't understand it well enough, then you're not? How did that go?
I think to teach it to a 5-year-old or something like that you don't. Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of
I've
times
lost it.
that is, yeah, a 5-year-old might be a little bit low, but I think part of it is, and I found that to be the case, like just in people that I've met, my own experience, if I can explain it very simply and clearly, even though I know I'm only just very skimming the surface of the topic, but I'm still kind of able to meet the person where they are so that they can get a hold of it, then okay, we've got a meeting of the minds here, then we might be able to take it a little bit deeper each
Mhm.
time. But if I just jump into the deep end, they're like, okay. That
Right.
was more
Yeah.
than I wanted to know. Thanks. So, but yeah, I think our tendency as humans is to overcomplicate our lives, and so much of life and the kingdom is not complicated. It's really pretty simple. So, and complex, but more simple than complex. So,
Yeah, I think we need to always be striving to simplify it down rather than blow things up.
yeah.
Anymore, when I start a project, I try to figure out what the least is that I need to be doing.
Your minimum viable product.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you can always add complexity, but it's kind of hard to take it out.
hmm Yeah. Once people have bought it, then you're you're stuck.
Yeah. Yeah, because you need to be consistent in what you do too.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where you have to take off your creative hat and put on the producer hat and get in your factory and make the widget. And then, yeah, just do the thing, whatever that is that you do.
Yeah, practically you needs to set some boundaries for creative you, and then you need to have those boundaries unrestricted at times too. So
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
then everybody be happy. All the yous are good.
yeah. They all get their time in the sun.
You hopefully make money.
Yeah. Because it's easier for people to understand what it is that you do and to grasp how it's going to benefit them. And so you're not confusing them with a whole bunch of extraneous stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the confused mind says no.
mhm. And or runs away screaming, depending.
That's very likely with our bunch and
Yeah.
me for sure. And
Yep. So,
it's, yeah, we have fun businesses though.
yep.
And that's kind of, with me on the Sabbath or whatever, whether I pick Saturday or Sunday or I'm taking the year, my work is fun. There, well, not all of it, but there are definitely fun parts that I enjoy and don't want to stop doing. So for me, I'm calling them more like obligation free days. I don't do anything I don't want to do.
Mhm.
But I'm likely still doing something with my business.
Yeah. I'm likely still doing something. It may not be business related, but
Yeah.
a lot of times I'll find that I'm a planner. So a lot of times I'll be planning something that, may be a not for now thing. And I know it's not for now, but I'm just having fun. Like, oh, I could do this. I could do this. Well, maybe if I do this, yeah, then I could do this and this and this. So yeah, and those pages just go in the folders. So
Yeah, I'm not that. I'm just the take off and do. And
yeah,
then I have to sit down and, okay, let's think about this.
yeah. Well, I do both. It depends on how energetic I am. So
I don't know. Ideas energize me. So that's a problem.
yeah.
We were talking about on the class a business that I started, and it was just an idea, and I ran with it. And it was a terrible idea. Well, logistically terrible.
Yeah. Fun idea. It was just logistically.
That was fun, yeah. I did it for a week and decided, no,
Yeah.
an idea is doing the actual work.
And that's fine too. You know, a lot of business is trial and error. So I think a lot of times the hang up between moving towards just thinking about it and being creative and the bright shiny object versus producing and getting the work done is that we think we have to have it all nailed down and figured out, and no. So you know, that was a whole entire business that Seneca created and threw away in a week.
Yeah,
Fine.
I mean, at least I tried it.
Yeah,
I found out.
she learned. And you
And
know,
if I'd have thought it through, maybe I could have realized that, yeah, you really just, you don't have a warehouse for all that stuff. And
how is that gonna work? Yeah. So,
I
but
figured out the shipping. I'll give myself that, like I knew how big a box to put it in and made sure it was profitable at that stage. And
yeah, yeah.
I did the money math. I just didn't do the rest of the logistics.
I think a lot of times, if I, you know, in your case, it wasn't related to your core business, so it was just, you know, better to
It
pitch
was,
the idea. But if it is part of your core business, then part of it is simplifying, you know, okay, where can I simplify? If I really think this is a good idea, I really think this is something God wants me to do, then what parts of this can I simplify down to make the logistics work as well as the money and all the rest of it?
yeah.
So, but in some of the stuff,
Well,
you have to try it and see, you know, it's,
I was not in love with that business and didn't think it was a God thing. I thought it was a fun thing, and my intention was to get it going and hand it off to somebody else who needed a business. Yeah. I wasn't going to hand off something that was just super flawed.
which is also, you know, a fair business strategy is to build something, sell it. So,
Yeah.
I think you already had a fairly established business. So
Mhm.
that would have been, you know, other than the overly complex nature of what you were doing, that could have been a viable thing for you to have done.
Yeah.
But I think part of it also depends on where you are in your business. So how established and
Yeah.
how infrastructure and, you know, systems and processes and all of that you've got going on. So,
Mhm.
which, you know, once again, doesn't sound like a lot of fun for a creative, but it does actually make things work a whole lot better so that you're able to be creative. So, yeah.
I actually have the warehouse for it now if I wanted to go back to that.
I was thinking actually you've got the space. Time for a rest.
Yep.
How much more time do you have during Shemitah?
Months. I'm not going to do it. It was a cute idea, but
No, I didn't think you were. So,
but part of it was, I think it was like, okay, how fast can I start a business? Let's just find out.
yeah. Well, and you
Yeah.
can start one really quick.
Yeah. See, minimum viable product and pre-sell the thing before you have it. Here you go.
Yeah.
Bought a domain name and built a one-page website, and I was off to the races.
Which is, again, that's a simple way to start. So, and again, you know, and it wasn't that you didn't have buyers, you know, you had buyers in that week. You just realized, yeah, this isn't gonna happen for a while.
I do not want to do this. It was more fun to plan than actually execute. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. All righty. Well, we hope we've given you guys some good things to think about, keeping that war between your creativity and your business in a good state of tension, so you're successful at both. So we'll talk to y'all next time.